Welcome to the Spiritual Awakening with Shaz podcast, where we unlock the power within and navigate the journey of your self-discovery together. I'm Shaz, your spiritual mentor and life coach, here to help you tap into your inner guidance system and manifest your best life. Whether you're just beginning your spiritual journey or looking to deepen your practice, this podcast offers insights, techniques, and inspiration to elevate your consciousness and transform your reality. Get ready to shine your light and embrace your true potential. Remember, the answers are inside you. Let me be your guide on earth. Welcome back to Spiritual Awakening with Shaz, the space where your soul meets strategy and healing meets personal power. Today, I'm talking to the amazing Rosemary Gattuso, the author of It's Not You, It's Me. She is a strength-based facilitator, mediator, and writer with more than 15 years' experience in helping people move through conflict, emotional loops, and self-doubt. But today we're diving into something incredibly personal. Her book, It's Not You, It's Me, A Chronic Overthinker's Guide to Self-Reflection. If you've ever spiraled in your own mind, second-guessed every other decision, or struggled to move forward because of an internal noise, you're not alone. We all go through this sort of thing. I can remember back in the day, my head was so filled with information. I suffered lots of chronic insomnia, and the doctor turned around and asked me at 11 p.m. one night, does your mind ever shut down? Does that noise ever settle? And this was long before I understood the spiritual connection and the overthinking aspect. So this conversation is something personal for me, and I hope that it's going to be something very personal for you. Overthinking impacts your spiritual connection. It wasn't until I quietened down the noise that I found clarity, peace, and connection with my inner self and discovered who I really was. And I hope this mindful reflection can help you lead to clarity, peace, and transformation. So welcome, Rosemary. Thank you for joining me today. Can you just tell us a little bit more about you and how did you come about to write this specific book?
Well, it's really a combination of the different parts of me and, the journey that I went on in my professional career as well as personal really coming together. And this desire that I had for many, many years to write a book. I just didn't know that it would end up being a self-help book. And, based on my work as well, because I was writing stories for many years. And then I, went overseas and had a bit of an sort of, I don't know if awakening is the right word, or just, had fallings out and being a solo traveler and all those things, and decided to write my story. And so I wrote about a chronic overthinker. It was called Inadmissible Confessions, the story of a chronic overthinker. And that was really about me and my challenges and the hurdles and what helped me and what I noticed about myself, as well as what I noticed in my clients who were, going through family court, family mediation, and the way that they managed their own adversity. So it was a merging of all of this. And in that book, I wrote the last chapter as a self-help book, a self-help chapter based on what the main character did and what helped her. And so as the story, I guess, evolved and was ready to be published, I realized that I had to decide whether or not I wanted to write a story or a self-help book. So that last chapter then became the entire book, and I expanded on that. And it's, as I said, about the way that I face challenges and the patterns that I notice in myself, as well as working with people in conflict on a daily basis, seeing the way that they respond to their challenges as well.
I love that. And that is exactly how, for me, channeling information and working with that spiritual connection evolves. You have an idea and you think it's going down one pathway, and then your spirit guides and the universe steps in and says, why don't we just track it down this pathway and see where that takes us? That's a beautiful aspect of self for me. So who is this book written for? Who's the ideal audience that will get the most out of this book?
When I wrote it, I really wrote it for, women, say in their mid-30s and onwards, who had successes or achievements in, many areas of their lives, but then seemed to make repeat patterns or repeat hurdles in one or two specific areas that, it didn't really make sense as to why they were so competent in other aspects, but not in others. So that was really who I wrote it for. But I find that I get a lot of feedback from people who don't really fit that demographic, but find it helpful as well.
And I love how the universe makes that happen too, right? One of the big things that I like to teach people is that you are here to learn lessons, and you're here for mastery of certain aspects of life, of growth, and going through scenarios where you get the results that you're after. And if you don't find the answer, the resolution, or the lesson behind it, you will repeat it over and over again. And even though you can be so competent, as you said, in other areas of your life, there'll be one part that's a bit failing and it upsets us, but it's simply because we're not looking at it from the right perspective. So that's a big windfall for me, because I know so many people that do it. And the audience, we don't like to narrow things down or niche them down too far, because it is for a broad, wide community out there. And the struggles are the same regardless of what they're going through. It's a really powerful aspect that. So how do you personally define overthinking?
Well, I would say that overthinking is really the way that we analyze a situation and what our situation that we find ourselves in. And so when I started working as a mediator, I was working in an organization that really prided itself on being strengths-based, and they use the strengths-based approach. And so the strengths-based theory really states that all our thoughts, feelings, and actions can be classified as coming under either what's wrong or what's strong. So then overthinking, then using the strengths-based lens, is an analysis of a situation that focuses on what's wrong.
Yep. Beautiful. And what are some other sneaky ways that it shows up?
Well, it's also about how it makes us feel. Mm-hmm. Are we having those sleepless nights? Do we feel heavy? Do we feel regret? How is it showing up? Are we having headaches? Are we feeling sick in the stomach? It's because generally overthinking feels heavy, and it has a tendency to focus on the past. And so when we focus on the past, then it's harder for us to then, take risks or pursue our goals or even make decisions, because we're so caught up in the way things went wrong, or things could go wrong again, or I've been harmed. And there's a lot of judgment, there's a lot of criticism, and blaming, denial, victimhood, you name it, it's all there. Anything that could come under what's wrong.
Yeah.
But then if we look at then how do we then move away from this? Well, one simple way is to then, look at what's not happening. So when I'm in judgment mode, I'm not doing the opposite of judgment, which is non-judgment, or even I'm not showing understanding. So we have clues in how we're feeling and what's happening for us to show us the alternate path.
Absolutely. I'm hearing you on that path, because I see it so often in people. And to me, I can always tell when we have chronic overthinkers, when I see clients myself, is the weight that you feel on their shoulders. And I'm an empath, right? So at the moment, as you're talking about that, I can feel that whole weight. Now, many years ago, I used to carry, my spiritual teacher told me, it was like a trash receptacle, imagine a big skip bin of all my rubbish thoughts, and they sat on my shoulders, and it was like, oh my God, I'm so heavy, I'm dying. And that's what it feels like. It is so heavy. And even the sensation of it, I can feel that heaviness of what it is. So it's a powerful aspect of what you're describing, because your words are creating the true feelings of it as you express it. And it's beautiful to know that when you pick that up and let it go, I felt like a giant. And I wish and I pray that everybody gets a chance to feel like this. Carrying burdens and thoughts from the past literally kills us, and it slows us down, creates all sorts of problems, and we don't deserve that. The past taught us something, and as long as you learnt it, let it go and live. And that's part of the big message that I hope to share with people. So this alignment of that, thank you. It's beautiful.
Because when we're in overthinking mode, it's hard for us to then see a mistake as a learning opportunity.
Right.
And we tend to sit more in the mistake, beat ourselves up, be ashamed, and maybe even stop ourselves from moving forward or giving it a go or trying because of that. So, but whereas when we're more towards reflection mode, we can sit there in non-judgment and extract the learnings. And sometimes we're not ready for it. And that's where we make the same mistake, repeat pattern over and over again. And then maybe one day we will be ready for it. And until we are ready for it, I call it a missed learning opportunity. So it'll keep presenting until we are ready to really take it on board.
Yeah, that's something I labeled the rinse and repeat cycle. You and again until you get it right. And if you're ever wondering, well, why am I doing this again? Then sometimes the universe will test you with it again when you've got it right. But it's only coming back to test you so that you can prove that you learned the lesson and show the outcome from the lesson. So the minute you turn around and go, no, 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 we're not having that here, or stop that. This is how I am now. And we like solidify the trigger that used to be into our new belief system. It's gone, and it's gone for good. So I love the way you describe that. That's my rinse and repeat cycle, and I hate it because I lived using years. It drove me bonkers.
And I think then putting a spiritual layer on it is then when you look at manifesting, well, what's overthinking going to do? It's going to continuously bring what you don't want. And even looking at intuition, because I saw your book, Develop Your Intuition. When we're in overthinking mode, then it's easier to then interpret what we think is our intuition, but it's actually a negative assumption or a judgment that we've made based on a fear. Not always the case, but then when we're in that what's wrong mode, overthinking mode, it's harder for intuition to really seep through. I mean, it's the perfect time for it to seep in and help and guide, but sometimes it comes sort of diagnosed. And, when I initially wrote my book, it did have more of a spiritual element. Like I've already said, we have this classification of what's wrong and what's strong. But the first classification that I wrote into my book was fear and love. But I rewrote it into what's wrong and what's strong to really be, I guess, open to more people and have this theory behind it, because not everyone, I guess, will respond to that language. But for me, it's the same, and then if we look at then what's happening for the nervous system's point of view, we're either in safe mode or unsafe mode. And when we're going towards fear, we're going towards what's wrong, we're risking putting our nervous system into unsafe mode.
I love that. And it is a conundrum at times with the spiritual aspect of things and then the science belief behind it. I have a very logical mind. I'm very science and logical orientated, but I'm highly, highly intuitive. And at times they clash, but they become so clear when you realize they're just talking exactly about the same thing. It's just perspective. And when you marry them up, the outcomes are still the same. They're just words. Like strong is love and wrong is fear. They are the same language, just reaching people that don't want to go. I have so many people to me, oh, that spiritual stuff is woo-woo bullshit. It's actually not. Most of it is scientifically based. And the noise in our head and the overthinking, when we quiet that down to reveal the truth that's underneath, the overthinking for me is 95% of other people's opinions about us and just stuff that's said or judged about us from people that aren't even worthy of that judgment in the first place, that we take on board as the mantle that we run with. And I hope that people do let it go.
I love that you say that, because that's really what I hope my next book will be about, because from what you're saying, it's about the sense of self, right? And then when I talk about the sense of self, I talk about how much we can believe in ourselves. And when we are in a situation, for whatever reason, we find it hard to believe in ourselves, we're going to focus more on what's wrong, and we're going to place more weight on the thoughts and opinions of other people that show us what's wrong in what we're doing or what we want to do, and it will stop us from moving forward.
That is so true. Because I have a coaching program called Shine with Shaz. And one of the big things that I'm teaching the women in it is they'll come and tell me, and I'll ask them, so what is the problem or what is the negative self talk that you have in your head? And one of the girls goes, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm hopeless, or I'm this or that. And when this Shine journey started for me, when I was over in Malaysia. And it's a cultural thing that they get told often that they're not good enough, or they're compared to their sisters or their brothers or their cousins or whatever it may be, and they don't measure up. And I simply asked someone, well, what is good enough? What does it mean for you? And then they told me what it is. And I said, well, where are you not good enough? Well, I'm not like my sister. I'm not like my brother. I don't have this degree. I don't have that degree. I've gone, but who's writing or raising that bar? Well, according to my parents. You will never, ever be good enough to according to somebody else's bar. The descriptions that we have of I'm hopeless. Well, what is hopeless? What is the definition of it? Your own thoughts are incongruent with what they are. That's where all the problems and the triggers come in our body, is the incongruency of our thinking. We don't even believe the words out of our mouth. And that's what causes the physical, the mental and emotional pain, from my perspective in life for people, is that simply, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that. Well, show me where you can't do that. Like, simply one of the things, a client turned around and said, I'm a piece of shit. And I said, okay, so what's a piece of shit? And we listed all the ways that you could be a piece of shit. And then I said, I want to take it back. Literally, what is a piece of shit? It is an excavation of the bowel, from whether it's an animal, a dog, a human, or whatever it is. Are you that? Is a piece of shit you? Can you be a piece of shit? No, you can have a shit, but you're not a piece of shit. They are two different things. So calling yourself a name that's not true causes discord within the body, and that in turn turns into disease. Mm-hmm. And that clarity is one of the big messages I try and help people get to. We become the master, like we become what we think about all the time. And the things we say to ourselves and how we think about ourselves, a lot of what we're thinking is somebody said. So where did feeling like a piece of shit come from? Well, back when I was 5 years old, my dad called me a piece of shit. That goes back into the unconscious mind and it stays there. And we equate that to our own truth when it's not true. And the minute you can disbase the clarity of what are the meaning of whatever the words are or what you're calling yourself and the truth, that's where freedom comes, and that overthinking disappears, and we clear our triggers and we get rid of old thought patterns.
And what really comes out to me about what you've just shared is that a lot of the times these thoughts or narratives that we have of ourselves stem from what other people say or think, or how we've interpreted someone's actions or inaction or thoughts. And what we've done is we've actually put the spotlight on someone else. So part of the process is also, how can we put the spotlight on us, so that we are going to compare ourself, our current self, with our past self. And we are going to have set up goals for ourselves that we want to achieve, or dreams, or whatever it is, based on what's important to us, not what we think someone else wants us to do or what someone else is doing, and then maybe we should be doing that. It's about shifting the spotlight on us and also having conversations with ourselves that focus on what's strong rather than what's wrong.
Absolutely. And this is something that I want to fix in the world around us, is to bring more of that strength, that more clarity of who you are, what is good about you, and uplift everyone in society. I have a mission that I believe if I can activate the light in you by uplifting you, encouraging you, then you can pass on that light to somebody else, and together we can reach out and light up the world. And we do that through boosting confidence and giving people compliments and being truthful about the beauty. The human being is magnificent. It is the most wonderful creature on this planet for all the things we can do. But too many people focus on what we can't do. Living up to somebody else's expectation of what you want to do. And usually the bar of where they're setting it anyway, they never reached it in the first place. So you're living in trying to attain to the impossible dream that doesn't exist because it's not your own dream.
Yeah. And it might also be based on, as you mentioned, the unconscious thoughts or something that that we were taught, or that how we sort of taught ourselves to adapt to our family environment at a very young age, based on, no evidence. It's just the way that we felt or we were made to feel, or the example we were shown, that already set us up for us to not believe in ourselves.
And that saddens me. So when you describe self-reflection as a spiritual practice, can you expand on some ways that people in the audience can do that?
Well, I guess I'll start by then defining what I see as reflection. And I've already defined overthinking as an analysis of a situation that focuses on what's wrong, whereas reflection then is an analysis of a situation that focuses on what's strong. So if you can do one, you can do the other. But it's also about, my role as a mediator is not to take sides, not to make a judgment, to be that neutral third party. So I would say be your own mediator in that process and show non-judgment to yourself in the way that you analyze that situation. And so the more we can show non-judgment, the more we're moving closer to love and understanding of ourselves. And then it's also, I guess, this is a spiritual podcast, so I don't have to say if you are spiritual, because chances are you are. Then I guess it's also giving up some of that doubt, because when we are in overthinking mode and going down the path of what's wrong, then we're doubtful that things are going to turn out, and we're going to focus on evidence that it hasn't turned out in the past in the way that we wanted it to. But maybe there's another plan that we don't know about that has to unfold, and there's still a different path for us.
And that's really funny, because it reminds me of an aspect where a lot of people play the what if game. So what if this goes wrong? So they live in fear. Well, what if this doesn't work? What if that doesn't work? When the true fear of what they're suffering with at many times is the fear of what if it does? What if it works out? What if this goes right? What if I have the success I want? What if I achieve the goal that I want? What then? Because it's so unusual for them. And that self-reflection and that self-awareness brings about the worthiness question of, am I worthy of having that success? And that stops people from achieving and going after those big dreams and goals when it's unnecessary. Chances are we don't need to live in that fear of what can go wrong, because we are safe and secure in ourselves. But what if the universe did support you and bring you all the joy and the love and the wealth, abundance, whatever you're asking for? What if all the success that you want is available to you? Isn't that worth the effort of thinking about it and allowing yourself to receive that?
Yeah. And I think sometimes we just get so set on the way that we want things to happen, that then that can cause us to spiral when things don't turn out the way it's apparent that it's not going to happen that way. So I'm going to have to go down another path. And one practice that, I've done for many years and do encourage, people to take on is any form of meditation or mindfulness, anything that can help, remove that clutter or chatter in the brain. And, I guess for one, it's going to aid that reflective process, because it's like exercise for the brain, because it's going to build up the parts of the brain that will aid reflection and emotional regulation and perspective taking, all these things that are going to help us be able to reflect without judgment. And it's also going to tone down the parts of the brain that, sort of activate anxiety and stress. So there's that sort of scientific layer to a spiritual practice that will, continually help to boost reflection and connection. But also, I guess the proviso here is that I know that many people say, I can't do it. It's too hard. There's so much chatter going on in my head. And, what I say is, even if you sit down for 5 minutes, then you only have 1 minute or half a minute, then just embrace that. because it's going to be more about consistency. And it's like any physical exercise, the more you train, the better you become at it. And then also, the more you train in a specific way, then chances are at some point you're going to get tired of it. You're going to get bored and you'll need to change it and find something else that works. So that's also true for meditation, because then you might do a practice for a while and then suddenly you're just not feeling it. You can't settle, or it's not resonating with you. Then it's just time for something new.
I love that, because a lot of people sit there and go, "Oh, it's too hard. I can't do this," and it was hard work getting into these bad habits. It was hard work creating the pathway that led you to where you are. Yes, it's going to take effort and change, but small increment changes, little things, 30 seconds one day, do that for a week. Next thing you know, you're doing it for a minute. Next week, you're doing it for 3 minutes. The week after, you're doing it for 15 minutes. Then you can be doing it for 5 or 10 hours if you want to. There's unnecessary for meditation. 15 minutes a day is more than enough. And you can break it down into 3 5-minute segments. It doesn't have to be in one portion of time. But all of these things are muscle, and you need to remember to do it over and over again. We have to learn through it. It takes 67 days to create a new habit. So give yourself permission to do small increments at a time. And then next thing you know, it's second nature. And it's just part of the routine. You don't even realize you're doing it. It happens automatically.
And then it doesn't have to be this traditional sort of strict way that people view meditation. I mean, it could even be a walking meditation or just any sort of mindful practice that helps you declutter from your thoughts. You know, some people do like even coloring in, just any sort of practice that helps.
I do crocheting, and that process of crocheting, that's a meditative practice for me. So
yeah,
crochet can be off in the Zen zone, and it's so high vibrational. It's fantastic. How has these self-reflection practices helped you in your own daily life? How has this working through this book helped you?
Yeah. Well, I guess the first thing that I'll share is about my meditation practice, because I've been meditating probably over 20 years now. And what I noticed is that when I stop for an extended period, you know, like at least a month, then I noticed that I suddenly become more reactive and more stressed out and you know, responding to scenarios in ways that don't really feel familiar to me, you know. And so I sort of realized actually it really does work. If for me, especially if I don't have some kind of meditative practice, then it just puts me out of whack, and my stress level or my threshold changes, and I really respond worse to stress when I'm not meditating. So that's the first thing. But then I guess even just having this notion of overthinking is an analysis of a situation that focuses on what's wrong, and reflection is an analysis of a situation that focuses on what's strong. Just having that in my head, sometimes I find that, you know, it just pops up. And you know, the other day I was just walking down the street and having this very trivial thoughts about something, and it wasn't anything important, but every single thought came under the umbrella of what's wrong. And it suddenly dawned on me how easy it is to take that path, almost, you know, unconsciously. It was my default. And in that moment, just having that awareness, that realization, it helped me to just let it go, you know. And one of the biggest things for me is that it's not about staying on the path of what's wrong the whole time. It's about learning from the times we haven't, because that's where there's opportunity for growth. Because if we say that we want to be on the path of what's wrong the entire time, we're just going to be disappointed, because we won't be able to. Aiming for perfection and eliminating overthinking is impossible.
And that's where, for me in my own practice, is when I start picking on what's going wrong, what's not working, that's where I slip straight back into a practice of gratitude, and I start looking at all the things that I'm grateful for. What are the beautiful things in life? Sometimes it can be as simple as I'm grateful for a bed that I can sleep in, that the sun shined today, the birds are singing outside, it was warm or it's cool, I have food on the table. That simply can shift away from that negative Nelly or the itty bitty shitty community, I call it, that resides in our head that keeps us playing small. We have to fight back with it. It sits there, and I find the most powerful way to do self-reflection personally is through journaling. So if I've got negative stuff turning in my head, I write it down, because the minute it's out on paper, it loses its own power, and I can then reframe that, reinstall that, or affirm what I want instead through gratitude, appreciation practices and more to change that thinking.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point about the gratitude. Yes, definitely. For nearly 10 years, I've had a mindfulness planner where there's space, if it's not nightly or weekly, for something you're grateful for, and it's just become something that I just do routinely, and it really does make you think away from the what's wrong to what's strong. And then yeah, that idea of writing, and actually in my book, there are 31 reflection tasks to help put in practice the concepts, and they sort of layer on each other. And they're mainly written exercises to do, but you can do them in your head if that's not for you. But yeah, there's definitely the opportunity to really write down what's happening, what's not happening, and where the learnings are.
And how has writing this book changed you?
Well, I mean, the first thing that jumps out is that it's forced me to put myself out there, where previously I was quite private and never had an online presence, wasn't really interested at all. Whereas now that's all I do. I'm working continuously on who might be interested, where can I speak, what podcast, can I get on. So that's one of the biggest things, and it's helped me shape what I'm sharing and also come up with ideas for other books as well. So that's been I guess one of the main changes, but it's also how I found that my own journey, whether or not it's personal or professional, and even the publishing journey, is really a reflection of the concepts in the book. I guess I went from having a traditional publishing contract to self-publishing. And when I did have a traditional publishing contract, I felt that my view of my work and my ability to be an author and do the speaking engagements wasn't very good. I didn't really believe in myself that much at all. And so I needed someone else, a publisher, to say, hey, I think you've got a good idea here. Yeah. And then as soon as that relationship panned out and developed, then I realized, hey, I do have a good book, and I actually don't want to publish with you anymore. So I'm going to self-publish. So it's just interesting how there's so many parallels, and even, in my work as well. And it's all, at one point where there was some kind of trigger that helped me to believe in myself, or where I was seeing more evidence of why I should believe in myself. And then I started believing in myself, and then I was given more evidence, because it's kind of like, if we take the path of what's wrong, then as we take that path, we continually receive more evidence to support that narrative. But the same goes if we take the path of what's strong, we will receive more evidence to support that as well.
And that's why I love the practice of gratitude, because they always say, whatever you find grateful for, you'll always find more to be grateful for. When I'm manifesting, I have a gratitude list. And Steve Harvey taught me this many years ago when I needed to come out of this hellhole of my own creation, of how to do it. And you have the gratitude list, and then you have the list of what you want and desire. And the more gratitude you have for what you have now, the more you start to realize your wants and desires move from this want and desire list to actual fact and existence in your life. And it changed so much for me. And most of the things on my want and desire list weren't actually material things. I wanted to believe in myself. I wanted to love the work that I'm doing. I wanted to have opportunities to talk to people, to share the soul's journey, to create my cards and my books, and to be who I am. I wanted a chance to live as I am, to have a spiritual life of understanding the soul and its introspection with other people, of why we're doing this and why we're doing that, and share this message with the greater world. And they all move through that practice. And the strong aspect is that I created this podcast from those wants and desires, and I love it. I love and thrive and share stories like yours with other people, because we're using some slightly different language nuances, but the message is the same. And I'm so grateful for that. I can't even fully express. I get tingles when you talk about it, and I go, because I did that, but I did it in a slightly different way, but it still has the same result. And that's important for me.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. And especially the gratitude and the manifestation list. That's so clever.
Like, one of the other gratitude practices he taught me is to write what's called a 300 list, where you write down 300 items. And these are more physical, material things that you wanted. Some of it's emotional and stuff like that. And you tick off and you say thank you for everything that you get. And every now and then I go and review it. And the same with my vision boards. And this year I've been manifesting a new car for a couple of years now. And I've got my new car and it's sitting right just on my side of vision. And the gratitude and love I have for that, to know that it's gone from my vision board to my driveway, is like, I'm so happy about it. It's like, gives me tingles. It's amazing. And just the joy to know that. And I shared that with my sister-in-law on the weekend, and the love and respect from that was really well received. This stuff works. And if you do it yourself, you will change and become strong in so many ways. You won't recognize who you were.
And I think when we are in a situation where we think, oh, if nothing's working out for us, then there are so many clues there. There is something, I guess, lacking in our belief in ourselves, or in our belief in the system that it can work, our belief in the process, that maybe we think it will happen for everyone else, but not for us. And whether or not we realize that, or we still have some doubt that we're not good enough to achieve that. And so that's where, some of the written practices in my book look at, well, what are our thoughts, feelings, and actions in relation to that scenario? And that will show us where the deficit is, in which area is this lack of belief, and how can we flip it? If it's going in under what's wrong, what would it be if it was under what's strong?
Absolutely. And one of the most confronting things one of my coaches ever said to me a couple of years ago, I used to be one of those people that said, well, nothing's working out for me, or that's not working out for me. And they'd say, come and try this. And I go, well, that's not going to work out either. And they said to me, like, well, what's working or what's not working? And nothing was really working at the time. And the confronting comment was, well, how's that working for you? If it's not working the way you're doing it, why don't you try this and see if you get a better outcome, you get a better result, you get a better behavioral change, whatever it may be. And so I went and, like, it was basically like, well, that's not working for you, do this. And that confrontation made me make that change. And sometimes we do need a coach that can stand up to you and tell you that. How's that working out for you? It's not working out. Well, why don't you try this? A lot of people go, oh, that's not going to work either, or I don't want to do this, or it's too hard. Choose your hard. And when I chose to go and do the things they were recommending and changing the practices, moving into gratitude, doing meditation, finding the peace within, letting go of the shitty thoughts, choosing myself first, putting my needs above everybody else's, life did a whole 360, and it's phenomenal now. And it's when you're going through it, you can't see it. It's never going to get better. It's so hard. But micro steps, one minor change, 1 minute of meditation can alter your habits if you do it daily.
And I think also it helps to have a role model who's had, a story like yours, or even a celebrity who, we know has gone through some massive adversity, abuse, you name it, yet they've been able to put that behind them in whatever way and succeed. So sometimes having that and knowing their story. You know, a lot of these sort of celebrity survivors have their memoirs out there, or there might even be a movie about it loosely, and that can be inspiring. Or it might be someone in your family, someone that you know, a friend who's really overcome so much. Then that can also be helpful to see that, well, we're not alone and it's not impossible.
It's definitely not impossible. And I'm so grateful in life that I've come across people like that. I mentioned Steve Harvey. He was a big turn point in my life. Lisa Nichols, another coach, massive turn point. Her saying, you are your own rescue, switched a massive dynamic within me, and it altered my whole life. It's why I chose to go into coaching. And have a beautiful family member, my cousin Julie, and her lifestyle, the things that she's overcome. And if she can overcome all of that, then the stuff that I've done, it's got to be easy. There are so many things that are worse than what you're going through. We just have to get out of our own head of thinking it's just us. Look outside the circle that you enclosed yourself in and break through a boundary so that you can look further afield.
And sometimes it's also about connecting or coming across the right people at the right time who can help support us, whether or not they are professionals or just strangers on the street or a manager or someone. And I guess I say that because one of the turning points in my career was when I started working as a mediator in a strengths-based organization, because it was really the first time in my professional career ever that I felt valued and I felt appreciated, and that I felt competent, and not just competent, but, you know, my skill set was routinely applauded, and I was, you know, given clients who my manager thought would work well with me, you know, because of my personality and the way that I work. And so that was really a massive turning point for me, because I was given evidence of my strengths. And then I started to believe it, and it just kind of snowballed. And then I also started working in a strengths-based way with my clients as well. But that to me was the real turning point, and it impacted not just professionally, but even personally, because it's all connected. If you don't believe in yourself in work, you don't believe in yourself personally, you know, at home. So it was just one of those, you know, really pivotal moments where I had this, you know, amazing manager that just helped to plant the seed for me.
I love that. And having amazing people in your life like that is just a beautiful, beautiful experience. For someone that's so lost within themselves and they're chronic overthinking and they don't know which way to turn and they are stuck in that victimhood, what is the single most easiest step? You mentioned meditation, but is there anything else that they can do to start today to start shifting that negative overthinking?
Yeah. Well, I think one small practice, which is really stems from my legal background and my tendency to jump to negative conclusions and negative assumptions about things. And, you know, sometimes I'd been in situations where I'd made a negative assumption, got really, really upset, disappointed, and hurt by someone. And it just really, I embodied that for some time, you know. But then I thought, hold on a minute, I've studied law, and the information that I relied on would not be admissible in court. You know, it couldn't be used as evidence. So why am I placing so much weight on it? So then I say, let's apply the rules of evidence to our overthinking. If it's something where there's no witness, and a witness could be a person or a thing or a document or whatever, if there's no witness to verify it, then we should perhaps reconsider how much weight we put on it. And I did share that I made an assumption and I really embodied that discomfort and disappointment. And then maybe a month or so later, I received new information that showed me how wrong I was about everything. And it really just hit me how impactful, negatively impactful, making an assumption or jumping to conclusions that generally comes under the umbrella of what's wrong and would be inadmissible in court. So let's try not to rely on it. So just say, is this admissible in court? Could I rely on this? And if it can't stand in court, why am I placing so much emphasis on it? Because, we make an assumption or come to conclusions about something, and then it stops us from doing something, or we do something to prevent a potential harm. That's how things can sort of spiral into something massive over something that exists only in thought and is generally not true.
That is the best analogy ever. And hearsay is a fine thing, right? But hearsay is not permissibly caught. Just because they said it doesn't make it true.
That's right, because it would knock out opinion, rumors, anything like that,
He's the best ever. I love it. Thank you. So where can people get the book, Rosemary, and how can they work with you further?
Sure. Well, I've got the book available on my website, rosemarygattuso.com, but it's also available at most online bookstores. And if they don't have it, and even physical bookstores, if they don't have it, they can order it in for you. And it's available in paperback, ebook, and audio.
Fantastic. I'm excited. I'm going to get a copy. I want to read it. I'm very excited to do that. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom and sharing this beautiful journey with us. I value all your insights, and I'm going to take that one to the bank. I love the lawyer side of things, and it's something that I can use and share with my clients too. Would this stand up in a court of law as pure evidence? And no, most times it won't. And that's what I say to people. What is the description of what are you calling yourself? Is it true? And we hold things that are not true and that are unworthy of us and detrimental to our soul, and we don't need to do that anymore.
That's right. And look, there is an exception to that rule, and that is intuition.
Yes, absolutely.
But sometimes when we're in that what's wrong mode, then it's hard for the intuition to come through, even though we're dead set say that it is. Sometimes it isn't. And for me, I've learned how to listen to my intuition or what it feels like when I haven't. And then I'm like, oh, that's what it was.
Okay, so thank you so much for that. It's not you, it's me. It's more than a book. It's a guide, a mirror, and an invitation back to clarity. Check it out. I will have all the links to Rosemary's shop, her website, her Facebook channels, and how to find her on the episode information for the podcast. Please go and check it out. Reach out. Feedback is very, very welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and follow us for more. And until next time. Thanks for listening to the Spiritual Awakening with Shaz podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below so you don't miss an episode. You can also follow us on Facebook with the links below. Until next time, trust your intuition and let your spirit soar.